And then, all right, Stephen, go ahead and introduce your topic.
Okay, I'm trying to launch it. Are you seeing my screen?
Not yet. There we go. It's coming up.
Okay.
There we are.
So do recommend that everybody have a MinnesotaWorks.net account. And it's really simple to do, but that's not what this topic is. That's another topic. And I believe there's a YouTube video on that Eagle Group has, because I did that about a month ago. So what we're going to talk about is it's not changing. I'm sorry, it is not changing. There we go. So when an employer logs in and looks for resumes, they're going to have to answer a few questions. You know, where do they want somebody to be coming from? So they'll put in zip code. What type of education do they want? They'll enter some keywords. They'll enter what type of shifts. So this is important for you because you want to make sure that you put in what shifts you want to work, because they're going to look for that. When they find all that and hit search, they're going to get a screen that looks just like this. And this I actually did a screenshot. You notice the little flags there? Those are veterans. And generally, the higher it is on there, the more recently the person has logged into MinnesotaWorks. So chances are the first 5 people on there were online when I took this screenshot. So the more often you log in, the higher your resume will appear on MinnesotaWorks when they do a search. And here's just a little more. Here's a very specific one that I created to show. What they will see is the first line and a half of your objective. I'm sorry that MinnesotaWorks still has objective. We're working on changing that to professional summary, but right now it is still the objective. So you want to grab their attention, make them want to read more. That's really important, because until they actually want to read more, they're not going to see the rest of it. So just the first line and a half. What does the first line and a half of your professional summary or your objective say about you? Think about that one. Once the employer finds a resume, they will click on, you see the blue numbers over there? They'll click on that. And this is my sample resume that I created in MinnesotaWorks. It's for Menelaus. And if you know Greek history, but that's when they'll pull up the rest of the resume. And this is all that I created. Obviously, with your resume, there's going to be a lot more content. I'm not hearing any questions whatsoever.
That's because it's a great presentation.
Oh, all right. Well, it's obviously not going to go very long then. Does anybody have any questions then? Because the whole intent is questions.
So is there a lot of employers that are using this system? Is this worth getting onto?
Yep. Let me scroll back. When I took this screenshot the other day, there was 95,130 active open positions.
And Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also the site that's used from an OFCCP perspective, right? As employers who have to be compliant, it kind of gets posted here through other forms. Is that correct? This isn't new,
Nope.
by the way.
No, they actually have to post it in here themselves. This site does not scrape other sites, whereas careerforcemn.com does scrape some other sites.
Ah, gotcha. I get the two confused. Thank you for the clarification.
Not a problem. That's why we're asking questions. So yeah, we do have multiple sites, and there are some jobs on careerforcemn.com, but not like they are on MinnesotaWorks.net. You can have up to 5 different resumes. One thing I recommend that you do is you create 5 different resumes and just have a little bit different of an objective. That way, no matter what they put in as search parameters, you can come up. And then log in at least every other day. You don't have to stay long, just log in, log back out. That moves your resume back up to the top of the search list.
What tips do you have on creating a great objective? What have you seen that's really great out there?
Well, one of the best ones that I saw a few years ago, I had a employer sitting in my office here, and what she was a company that was looking for was metal fabricators, and she found somebody because we pulled up her account, and the only thing it said in the objective was that the person was a fabricator and welder. And she said, I want that person. So give them what they want. What is it that that you want to be known for? What is it that you can do that somebody else can't?
So having your professional title in the lead objective
Yeah.
line is...
Yeah, and I also always recommend that people put their military service in that area, your professional summary or your objective in MinnesotaWorks. Because there's a lot of companies that really want to hire veterans. And I've been training these companies to look for that little flag.
Very cool.
You know,
And you have to check that as a box when you
yes,
put up your resume.
yes, you do. And that means that if you live in one of my areas, that you'll get a welcome from me too. Because within a few days of people registering in MinnesotaWorks, I do send them out a welcome email.
Now, is this where you find a lot of the jobs that you send out?
That's where I find some of them.
Okay.
Minnesota's in the process of becoming a yellow ribbon company. So I've been sending out a lot of Minnesota jobs. You've probably noticed that.
Yep.
And that's because my boss has asked me to do that.
Sure.
Hey, Stephen, it's Renee. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
I had a question about the multiple resumes. I'm confused about that. So it doesn't go off of like your name? Is there, when you create a resume, is
You can
there screen
label
you had
them
a-
whatever you want.
Pardon me?
You can label them however you want.
Each
You know.
account can have up to 5 resumes.
Right. And you get
Okay.
to label them. This one is just labeled Menelaus because I only created one for him.
Mm-hmm. So
you-
it's resume ID that the system keys off of rather than your name.
That is correct.
for example. Okay.
Steve, hey, Stephen, hey, it's Rebecca. I have a question for you. So when employers log on, can they see the profile page of the job seeker? Can they see the profile page?
No, they can only get to the resume.
Just the resume?
Yeah,
Okay,
you and I can get to the
Right.
profile page,
Yep.
but
Yep.
the employers cannot.
okay, thank you.
Stephen,
Yes.
I'm wondering about I don't know who it was, but I just heard a voice saying about they're confused about the resumes. And I don't know if you said this already. Did you speak to why there's multiple resumes already and I just missed it?
Well, you don't have multiple resumes unless you create multiple resumes. And I do recommend that you do create 5 different resumes, even if you're only looking for one career field, so that you use some different keywords in each one.
Well, Stephen, I think I'm still confused in that too, right? Because if I write 5 resumes, one says I work in manufacturing, the other says I'm an airline pilot, the other says I'm a dentist. Like, what can the hiring man? I mean, what's the hiring manager going to know that I do? How are they going to know which one actually fits me?
Based on when they enter the keyword, only the one that matches what you said you did will come up. They won't see the others.
Oh,
So
I will say
Aaron, to
this.
answer your question, as a recruiter, it's always helpful if you're looking at positions, say you're looking at manufacturing engineer in one position, but then there might be a quality engineer that you're equally qualified for. That's a little bit different in scope, but it's something you're interested in. That's where you can have different resumes, right, Stephen? That's how,
Yes.
that's the approach you would take. So as a recruiter, that's what we would look for, right? You know, we're not saying that you would have totally different options and life choices. It would just be things that are similar to what you're passionate about, but just different, you know, maybe in scope, or organizations post things differently. It might be a manufacturing engineer in one position, but it might be a maintenance engineer in another organization.
And the whole body of the resume, except for the objective, might be identical. And you're just keying off of the words that they type in, looking for you.
So, I'm sorry, somebody else talking?
No, I was just thinking that I don't want to hijack his presentation. I'm going to wait till he's done.
Lana, go ahead. You're very knowledgeable.
I'm just thinking that also on the flip side, not only does it allow employers to look for you, but another reason why you have multiple resumes is because it allows you to look for work in accordance to your resume. So you will pull up different people with it. And even though you could put up very similar ones that's in the same field, like different types of engineers, you could put up different ones too if you were looking for different type of work. And that's why it's a great advantage to have, you know, the 5 resumes on there. One, it helps employers to find you, but then on the flip side, it also allows you to find employment utilizing that particular resume. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that is totally true, because you can search for jobs using your resume. In fact, the same search parameters that the employers have, you do for looking for the employers. So you can use the same type of parameters. How far do you want to drive? You know, what type of work are you looking for? What shift are you looking for? You can put in keywords. So, yeah.
So in Lana, you clarified what my question was, and I think, and Steve, that like for instance, if someone is transitioning from a job as an administrative assistant, but they're really interested in going into work in project management, but maybe they're in transition and they really need to find a job before they can get that job in project management, they may still want to look for administrative assistant roles. So they may want to have those 2 very different types of resumes, and they can have those side by side. And I think maybe some confusion comes in because we're always thinking like, oh my gosh, we don't want that hiring manager to see our two resumes side by side and think that we're kind of, flighty or not. And you're saying, no, they're not going to. They're only going to see the resume that they've pulled up.
That is correct. They will
Yeah, so
only
that's really
see.
awesome.
And then to your point, I think that was Miss Michelle. So when you're applying directly to an employer, you don't want to send out all those different types of resumes. They want to make sure they're very similar. But as far as MinnesotaWorks.net, yeah, you can have various kinds. But if you're applying to 3M, you don't want to apply to be a janitor and a manager. You want to make sure in that case, then yeah, you don't want to do that where the HR person will see, oh, this person don't know what they want to do. So yeah, you're right. I agree with you on that. But then for MinnesotaWorks.net, it's just slightly different. And then I'm gonna mute myself.
So can I just say, like, I've gone on Minnesota Works in the past and thought that I thought you chose one resume, and the one that was kind of top was the resume that they saw. I never realized that they could see all 5 at once. So to me personally, this is extraordinary information, and it's exciting information too. So it gives lots of opportunities and options. So I just want to thank you guys very much.
Well, and going with the resumes, you could create a resume in Minnesota Works, apply for a job using that resume, and then change it up and apply for a completely different job. And that first employer will never see your new one. I do recommend you save the ones you change. Put it on a flash drive or save it on your computer. That way, when you get called in for that interview, you have the right resume with you.
Yeah.
But you can change it all day long if you want. And the really cool thing about Minnesota Works is you're literally just filling in boxes. You don't have to do all that extra work. You can start out by just filling in your first job and then go, you know what? I'm going to go have lunch. Come back later and work on the next piece. You don't have to start out and complete it all in one sitting. It's really easy. It's very well thought out. We are working on improving some of the things that aren't all that great, but it is well thought out. So the easiest way in Minnesota Works is to literally just work on one section at a time and then save it. Work on the next section and save it.
I will say this as well for folks that are considering this is the software that the engine behind that's actually doing the matching is very superior. It's called Burning Glass Technologies. And I don't know what algorithms they're using to do the matching, but it is a superior match. The people that come up, when you build it out, your resume and the job, it's doing a really good match on it. So you're going to get high quality candidates or high quality job postings when you're looking. I've never seen any other applicant tracking system beat it as far as for matching. So it's that one alone is worth your time to dig into.
One word of warning I would give you on that though, make sure that if you upload a resume, you read where it put every word. The optical character recognition software, pretty much anybody's, is still not all that wonderful. Yeah. And it gets creative at times. Yeah. So just saying that be very vigilant with that, because I have read a lot of resumes in Minnesota Works because our veterans have asked me to pull up their account and see what it looks like. And they have no objective whatsoever, but everything that should have been in the objective is in the notes section.
Mm-hmm.
Or it'll mix up their schooling and their employment. So it'll say they were employed by such and such a school when they actually attended that school.
So when you're scanning it in, it's better to manually enter it.
It's actually the easiest to just manually enter it. You can cut and paste. You can enter it pretty much any way you want. It's got multiple choices to do that, but the easiest is just type it directly in there because you're just answering boxes. It'll autofill your personal information because when you're registered, it knows who you are. You do have to click on that part, but it'll autofill it. And in MinnesotaWorks, if you want to change your address or your phone number, that's where you change it. Is you change it in your resume, it'll change it in MinnesotaWorks for you.
So if you're up north, you can change it for up north.
Yes.
Looking at you, Aaron.
Seeing as somebody may not come back until Labor Day. Yeah. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do.
So Stephen, so you said if you change your information in your resume, it changes on MinnesotaWorks?
It will if you tell it to, yeah. Yeah, you do have to click the little box, but yes.
Okay, all right. And I know that MinnesotaWorks is an absolutely fabulous tool, and it's perfect for its intentions. But I just want everybody who's developing a resume to know that it is perfect for MinnesotaWorks.net and for its intentions. But when you print it out, it may not be aesthetically pleasing for employers. So I would recommend that you have a version of your resume in Word as well.
Oh, yes, I would. Yes, because the version you're going to see in MinnesotaWorks is really bad as far as aesthetics is concerned. But, you know, most of the employers that I work with, I train them on this is what you're going to get. It's not pretty, but it's the information you need. But I train them on the other side too, because they put in some pretty lackluster job postings too. So I work on training them how to do that. And I have a sample of a job posting that I send out to the employers that I work with.
Very cool. What does everybody think? Is this a good tool to use?
Absolutely. Not even a question.
Thank you, Lana. It is
Agreed.
a
I've
great,
used it as well.
Oh, there you go. Voice of
It
the
is.
recruiter.
yeah, it is a great tool to search for resumes. It's a great tool to search for jobs. And I do pull
Actually,
up
when
some of the jobs from MinnesotaWorks, especially the ones that are targeted to individuals that are on my email list.
I actually got my job off of MinnesotaWorks.net.
Woo!
Wow. I
There
had
you
an
go, Lana.
advocate that advocated for me. He just got a new puppy.
I tell you, I'm definitely working on my Dr. Evil impression.
Well, we'll have to get you a doctorate.
Yeah, right. And a skull cap.
Are you gonna do the Mike Myers version or?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good.
Well, you
I'm
know
working
that
on it.
somebody with a doctorate can award a doctorate.
Oh, well, there you go. A doctorate of evil. Any other questions about MinnesotaWorks? Any other thoughts or questions?
Okay, well then I'm just going to put in a plug for my daily leads and tips email. Even though I'm in training right now, I am still sending that out, and I got quite a list for tomorrow. So, all right.
I appreciate your tips email every morning. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.